In this tutorial, we will learn how to make this attack. So if I just get close to our enemy game object and attack on it, as you can see, enemy game object get destroyed right away. So in this tutorial, we will learn how to make attack in Unity game engine with basically in Unity 6. And before I jump into the coding part, I especially want to thanks for donating in this month on Patreon, Marian Monreal and Puchtovik. And if you guys want to do that, then I have a link in the description. You can do that, and you will unlock so many benefits after doing it, or basically taking membership. And also I have some Unity 6 and C# courses on Udemy. Don't miss out this opportunity. Go and check that, check those, because those are amazing. So what we basically want to do, we're going to create a attack point somewhere over here, and from that point we're going to create a circle. And if this player game object plays attack animation and that circle collide with this enemy game object, then this enemy game object need to take damage. So we're gonna create a circle around our player. Basically, firstly we're gonna create a attack point. So let's do that. So we're gonna select our player game object in the hierarchy. Let's right click on it and let's create an empty child game object. And I'm gonna name this game object to something like attack point. And let's select the move tool from the scene view and let's move it somewhere around here. And if you want to choose an gizmos, then you can go to inspector, click over here, and you can choose the gizmos that you like. So I'm going to choose this yellow. So around this attack point I'm going to create the circle. To do so, let's open up our player script, or you can create a separate script as well by clicking on this add component and then new script in the bottom. Name the script was something like attack, player attack, and then click on create and add in the bottom. But I'm gonna do inside my player script, so I'm gonna open that up quickly by double clicking on it. And I'm gonna make a function for that in order to create the circle, and I will make over here. And we will make this function public. Why? Because I'm gonna call this function through animation event. So once I'm gonna play the attack animation, so if I select my player, move over to animation tab and then choose this attack one. So whenever I play this attack animation clip, I want to call that function from here. So that's why we need to mark that function as public. And for function we're gonna type void and we have to name the function. So I'm gonna call it something like attack, and let's make first bracket and some curly brackets. And let's now what we have to do, in order to create the circle around this attack point, we need to use this physics 2D. So we need to use this physics 2D dot overlap circle, and make this first bracket and then close that up with semicolon. So this function, as a first argument, it's gonna take the point from where you want to create the circle. Second thing, it's gonna take the radius, with how much radius you want to create the circle. And the third argument, it's gonna take the layer mask, or which game object you want to damage or target. So in our case, we're gonna target this enemy game object. So so we need those variable, and after that we can create the circle. So let's make this one by double forward slash comment, and comment don't interrupt our code. And let's go to top of our class and let's make those variable. So the first thing, we need our attack point. So we're gonna make a public transform which is responsible for position, and we're gonna call it attack point. And the second thing, we need our radius. So let's make a public float. So let's make public float, and I'm gonna call this attack radius. And by default I'm gonna set something around 1 unit or 1f. And the third argument, we need the layer mask, or which game object we really want to target. So let's create a public layer mask, and I'm gonna call this one target layer or damage layer. So let's call it target layer, and let's close that up with semicolon. Let's press down Ctrl S to save our script and head over to Unity. So we need to assign those variables underneath our player script by one. So the first thing, gonna appear our attack point. So we need to select this attack point underneath our player game object over to that slot. So we're gonna have the attack point and then we're gonna create the circle. And now our script gets compiled. Underneath our player script we can see attack point, and it says non transform. So let's choose this attack point, drag it over to that field, and attack radius I'm gonna make something like 1.5, and target layer it says nothing, so I'm gonna choose enemy. But before you choose enemy, make sure you select your enemy game object in the hierarchy. Go over to inspector. In the top right you can see layer, and it will be choose by default it will be default. By default it will be set to default. So what you need to do, you need to click on this add layer, name the layer what you want, something like name it enemy. I already name it enemy. And make sure you go to that game object, basically select that in the hierarchy one more time, go over to inspector and assign with the layer that you recently created. So I assigned this enemy as an enemy layer, and now I'm gonna move over to my player scape and target layer. Now I'm gonna choose enemy, so that circle only gonna damage this enemy, or we just checking for this enemy game object. So let's go to script now, and let's move over to that line of code, and let's remove these two forward slashes. And the first thing we do know, it's gonna take the point from where we want to create the circle. So we're gonna pass our attack point, and attack point dot position, because that attack point is a transform, so we need to access the position, so we need to use this dot position. And the second thing, it's gonna take the radius, so let's pass our attack radius. And the third argument, it's gonna take the layer mask, so we're gonna pass our target layer, and target layer we have chosen that enemy. And what we're gonna do now, so this function just gonna create the circle from our attack position with this much of radius, and it's just gonna target our enemy game object. So what we will do, so this function can be true or false depending upon if the circle that we created from here, if it's collided with this enemy game object not. If it's, then this function over here it's gonna give us a true value, or else it give us false value. So what we will do, we're gonna store the result, so we will store that into a collided 2D, and we can simply call this one call info, and let's set equal to this. So this call info can be true or false depending upon if the circle is really colliding with this enemy game object or not. If it's, then this will be true, so that's why this call info gonna be true right away, and we storing into a collided 2D because this just gonna work like as a collision. So this call info can be true or false depending upon the circle collided with that enemy game object or not. If it's, then we need to do something, so we're gonna check. So let's use this if condition. Let's make first bracket and some curly brackets. And what we want to check, if we basically want to check if call info if it's equals to true, basically means the circle really collided with that enemy game object. Now what we have to do, we need to damage that enemy game object. For now I'm gonna print out a message, so I'm gonna type this debug.log, and I'm gonna say something like damage enemy, and let's close that up with semicolon. So we're checking if call info is true, basically means circle is really colliding with this enemy game object. Then what we're doing, we're just printing out this message in the console says damage enemy. Now we're gonna press down Ctrl S to save our code. Let's move to Unity. So we should able to see, so if we move over to player, but the problem is that we're not able to see our circle. We created, but we're not able to see. So to see the circle we need to use another function. So let's move over to our script, and I'm gonna do in the bottom. You can do anywhere you like, it doesn't need to be on or in order, but make sure you just typing as I did over here. It's called a void on draw gizmo selected. It's gonna draw the thing that we really want to draw. So what we're gonna draw, we're gonna draw our circle around that attack point. So we need to use this gizmos dot draw where sphere function, and this function as a first argument it's gonna take the point from where you want to draw. So we're gonna pass our attack point dot position, and the second thing it's gonna take the radius, so we're gonna pass our attack radius. And now that's done. and we can go to Unity, but it's gonna give us some error if we don't assign our attack point position. Basically, if you haven't dragged this attack point to this attack point slot, so this just gonna be empty, but this function over here is still trying to finding that attack position, and it's trying to it's trying to create that circle with this much of attack radius. But if you haven't assigned, so this function will not able to find that attack position, so that's why it's gonna throw us an error. So before we draw the circle, we need to make sure, so we're gonna check if if let's make first bracket and some curly brackets, and what we basically want to check, if attack point is equals to null. If that is the case, then we're gonna type this return, and after return, whatever we're gonna do, it's not gonna be execute. So if attack point is equals to null, basically means this field, this attack point field is empty. We haven't dragged it to this attack point to the slot, so this just gonna be empty. And if it's, then what we're doing, we just typing return, and after return, whatever we're gonna do, it's not gonna be execute. Basically means the circle will be stop drawing from that attack position. And if you want to choose a color or color that you would like to draw with, then you can just use this gizmos dot color, and you can set the color equal to that you like. So I'm gonna set something like color dot yellow. I want to draw with this yellow color, and now close that off with semicolon, control S to save our script. And now let's move over to Unity, and we should able to see that. So now we can see our circle, and we can adjust with our attack radius. So if I select my player game object in the hierarchy, move over to animation tab, and then choose this attack one, so I can adjust the circle. So I think 1.5 attack radius is fine. It's perfectly fitting our attack range, and that's fine. And what we need to do now, we need to call this function. We basically created this attack function, so we also need to call it, and this function just gonna create the circle from that attack point with attack radius, and it's gonna target our enemy. And if the circle really colliding with that enemy game object, then this message just gonna pop up in the console, says damage enemy. So let's call this function. So in order to call the function, we need to select our player game object first in the hierarchy, then move over to this animation tab, and then choose your attack animation clip. So over here we're gonna call, so I'm gonna delete this one. So over here I want to call the function here. So how you can call a function, in animation tab in the left side you can see this add event. So just click there and then select this add event, then go over to inspector, and it says function, no function selected. So just click there, then go over to player script. Methods basically means function, and we created the attack function there, as you can see. So let's choose that. Basically we just calling the function whenever we're gonna play this attack animation clip. So basically what we're doing, we're just moving over to this player script. As you can see, this player script or this player C# class, and then we just calling this attack function whenever we're playing that attack animation clip, and this function just doing this thing, which is, as you can see, it just printing out the message in the console, says damage enemy. And we also need to play the animation clip, but when we should, I want to check when I click left mouse button, then I'm gonna play this attack one animation clip. So for that I'm gonna move over to my update function over here, and in the bottom I'm gonna do, so I'm gonna check if input dot get mouse button down, and let's make this first bracket, I'm gonna pass 0. It's basically means that we clicking the left mouse button. That what we want to do, I just want to play this attack one animation clip. So what we need a reference of this animator component, and then we can just trigger this attack one parameter. So if I move over to animator, as you can see, this attack one is a trigger parameter. So if we trigger this, attack one animation will be played, and if that circle now collide with that animation, then that message should be pop up in the console, says damage enemy. So what we need a reference of this animator component, but as you can see over here, I already have the reference in the start of the game, so I don't need it. But make sure you just grab the reference first, and then you should do. And now I'm gonna move over to this input.get mouse button down. Basically we just clicking the left mouse button, then I'm gonna move over to animator component, and I'm gonna use this set trigger function. Sorry, we're going to use this set trigger function in order to trigger the parameter, and let's close that off with semicolon. And between these brackets in quotation, we need to pass the parameter name. So in our case that is attack1, so I'm going to pass that. And now let's control S, press down control S to save our script, and let's move over to Unity. So now whenever we're gonna click left mouse button, then attack 1 animation will be played, because we just triggering this attack 1 parameter by moving over to that animator component. And we do know that if we trigger this, it's gonna play the attack 1 animation clip. And if you little bit confused about this animation and this animator tab, I will have a video in the description, you can go and check that out. Now I'm gonna click on this play button in the top to play my game, and I'm gonna select my console tab in order to check that out. So now I'm gonna select my console tab, and let's get close to our this enemy. Sorry, we're not jumping at all. I'm gonna get out of play mode. Instead, I'm gonna drag this enemy game object somewhere over here. So let's drag it somewhere around here, and let's click on this play button in the top in order to play our game. And now we're gonna just damage this enemy, so just wait a little moment, and once it's done we will able to see as soon as we're gonna damage. So if I attack, as you can see, we're just printing out the message in the console says damage enemy. Instead of printing out message, we just want to destroy this enemy. So I'm gonna get out of play mode, and what I'm gonna do, let's double click on this message in order to open that line of code. Instead of doing this, basically printing out message, I just want to damage that enemy game object. To damage, I'm gonna use this call info, this call info parameter, and by using this parameter we can access anything that we would like to access. So basically I want to damage the enemy, so I'm gonna go over to my call info, then game object, and I'm gonna get the animator component. So we're gonna use this dot get component, and the component I'm looking for is enemy. And over there I created the take damage function, so I'm gonna call it here. So let's call it take damage, and let's make first bracket, and let's close that up with semicolon. Basically what we're doing, we're using this call info parameter, and call info dot game object basically means the game object the circle collided with. So the this player circle collide just gonna collide with this enemy game object. So call info dot game object there basically means this enemy game object. And then what we're doing, we're just getting the enemy script and then calling the take damage function. Basically we just going over to this enemy game object, and then going over to this enemy script, and from this script, the enemy script, we calling this take damage function over here, as you can see. And this take damage function is damaging our enemy game object as you seen. So I hope you get the idea that how you can do it. And for enemy health, I'm gonna choose something around 1. So I guess max health, I'm gonna choose 1. Let's click on this play button in the top. So as soon as we're gonna attack on this enemy game object for the first time, this enemy game object will loses his health right away. So just wait, and if I attack first time, and we just printing out message damage enemy. So we forgot to save our script. So what we basically need to do, we need to press down Ctrl S to save our script. And now let's head over to Unity. Make sure you press down Ctrl S in order to save your script. So whatever you have done inside your script, it's gonna be saved. So make sure you just do that. And after doing it, now we're gonna click on this play button, and let's try to damage this enemy game object. And if we attack this enemy game object for the first time, you will see this enemy game object will destroy right away. So if I just attack on it, as you can see, as soon as we attack, that enemy game object get destroyed. So I'm gonna get out of play mode. So I hope you get the idea that how you can make attack in Unity in order to damage something or destroy something. And I will see you in the next tutorial.